Here's the truth no one will tell you. If you think something's off with her, you're probably right. And I'm not talking about the obvious stuff. No, we're talking about the sneaky signs she thinks she's hiding. Ever notice the little things that make you question her loyalty? Trust me, they're not just coincidences. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain on what she's really hiding. If you're ready to see the truth, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. Let's see if any of you are spotting this too. Sign 1. Sudden emotional distance. Let's start with the most obvious but often overlooked sign, emotional distance. Have you noticed it? She used to be so talkative, so eager to share every detail of her day. But lately, there's a shift. She's pulling back, becoming distant in a way that feels off. At first, it's subtle. Maybe she's not as eager to talk when you ask how her day went. Her responses are short, almost robotic. It was fine. Nothing special. When she used to offer more detail. She used to smile when you asked, but now she just seems tired. Here's where it gets interesting. She's not angry with you, and she's not giving you the silent treatment. It's not that obvious. But guilt? Guilt has a way of making someone emotionally retreat, even from those they're closest to. When a person feels guilty, they can't stay emotionally connected the way they used to. It's almost like a mental block forms, a wall that they put up to shield themselves from the discomfort of being close to someone they've betrayed. It starts small. Those little moments of silence, the coldness in her tone when she responds to something simple, like, "How was work today?" It's almost as if she's been practicing these responses, rehearsing how she'll act, but it's not quite right. Have you noticed that? It's as if she's trying to protect herself from revealing too much. But here's the thing, that emotional distance isn't a coincidence. It's guilt creeping into the relationship. The more she feels guilty, the more she will disconnect emotionally. And it's not just about her actions, it's a subconscious defense mechanism. She's trying to protect herself from your judgment, your questions, and maybe even from the guilt itself. You might even catch her in these moments where she's not just emotionally distant, but physically present but mentally absent. Her eyes might wander when you speak, as though she's lost in thought, thinking about something or someone else. And when you ask her if something's wrong, she'll say, "I'm just tired," or "It's nothing," like it's no big deal. But trust me, it's a big deal. So, pay attention to this sudden emotional withdrawal. It's one of the first signs that something is seriously off. But don't rush to conclusions just yet. There's more to this, and what comes next is even more telling. Stay tuned because the next sign will make you question everything. But hold on, we're just getting started. Sign 2, the defensive shift. You've asked her a simple question, something like, "Where did you go today?" or "Who are you talking to?" And suddenly, her reaction is extreme. You didn't accuse her of anything, yet she snaps back at you like she's being interrogated. Her eyes narrow, her tone sharpens, and there's this sudden tension in her body that wasn't there before. It's as if your question triggered a volcano inside her, and all you did was ask about her day. It doesn't add up, does it? Here's the thing, when someone feels guilty, even the smallest, most innocent questions can feel like an attack. Guilt has this funny way of turning normal, everyday interactions into high-stakes situations. A simple question, one that wouldn't usually matter, becomes a threat. She might get defensive, not because she's guilty of anything you've accused her of, but because deep down, she knows what she's hiding. That defensive reaction, it's her subconscious mind trying to deflect from the truth. You've probably noticed it by now. Maybe you ask her something completely neutral. "Who was that on the phone?" And she immediately turns it into something about you. "Why are you always so suspicious? What's going on with you?" She might even throw in some guilt of her own, making you feel like you're the one in the wrong for asking. And that's exactly what she wants. By flipping the script, she takes the attention off of her actions and puts it back on you. She doesn't want to talk about her behavior, so she makes it about your issues instead. This isn't just a sign of defensiveness, it's a red flag. People who feel guilty often perceive judgment, even when there is none. Why? Because they're already judging themselves. They know what they've done, and your question brings that uncomfortable truth to the surface. Instead of calmly answering, they react, not to the question, but to the guilt that's eating away at them. You might even see this pattern escalate. The more you ask, the more defensive she gets. The more she deflects, and you're left feeling like you're walking on eggshells, constantly second-guessing yourself. But trust me, this defensive behavior is a huge clue. But guilt doesn't stop there. It's only the beginning. In the next chapter, things get even more interesting, and this next sign is something most people completely miss. Stay tuned. Sign 3. The phone trick, the first shift. Here's a big one, the phone. Have you noticed how she's suddenly acting with it? 1 minute, her phone is glued to her hand. She never leaves it unattended, always keeps it locked, always checking notifications the second they pop up. You can't even ask her who's texting without her quickly trying to hide the screen. Almost like it's a crime to know who's on the other end. Then, out of nowhere, there's a shift. She casually places her phone face up on the table, screen unlocked. She even leaves it unattended for longer than usual. It's like a whole different person is holding that phone. 1 minute she's protective, acting like the phone is her most guarded secret, and the next, it's like she's throwing caution to the wind, almost daring you to look at it. But here's the twist. This sudden shift is more telling than you think. When guilt is at play, it creates an internal struggle. She knows she's hiding something, but the more paranoid she gets, the more she overcompensates to prove that she's innocent. That's why one day, she acts like she has nothing to hide. Phone wide open, messages on display, but don't be fooled. This is a psychological trick. She's trying to reduce your suspicion by doing the exact opposite of what you expect. She knows you're onto her, so she tries to convince you she's transparent, that nothing's going on. It's the old, look over here, nothing to see, move. This sudden change isn't because she's finally trusting you. It's because she's battling with her own guilt and trying to minimize the consequences of her actions. The Stoics had a point when they said, when someone tries too hard to prove their innocence, it's usually because they're fighting a truth they don't want revealed. Here's where it gets even trickier. You might think, well, maybe she's just being more open with me now. But that's the problem. Guilt doesn't just disappear, it gets masked by overcompensation. So, when she suddenly seems too relaxed about her phone, don't ignore it. It's a sign that she's wrestling with something she's too scared to confront. And trust me, this is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we're going to dive into another subtle yet powerful sign, one that'll make you question how much she's really paying attention to you. Stay tuned. Sign 4, the control game, excessive questions. This next one is subtle, but trust me, it's a red flag. She starts asking you an unusually high number of questions about your day, your whereabouts, and your interactions. At first, it might seem like genuine curiosity. She wants to know where you've been, who you've been talking to, maybe even what you ate for lunch. It feels like she's finally taking interest in your life, right? Wrong. It's something much deeper. Here's the thing. When someone feels guilty, they try to compensate by controlling the emotional tone of the relationship. Guilt makes them feel distant, and the more they feel that gap, the more they try to close it with forced attention. It's like they're trying to cover up their own emotional distance by becoming overly involved in yours. Suddenly, your daily routine becomes a source of intense scrutiny. Why? Because it gives her a way to avoid thinking about her own actions. So she'll start asking where you were every day, who you met, what time you got home. These questions are constant, sometimes repetitive, and sometimes oddly detailed. It might even feel like an interrogation, but disguised as concern. Why does she need to know every little detail? Because guilt creates a void in her, and she's filling that void with questions about you. She's trying to make you feel like you're the one on trial, not her. Here's where it gets tricky. You may even notice that her tone shifts from casual curiosity to something more controlling. Who was at the bar with you? Or, why did it take you so long to respond to my text? These aren't questions coming from a place of natural interest. They're signs of insecurity. Guilt is making her overcompensate. She's asking you about every little detail to deflect from the things she doesn't want you to ask about, her own actions. And it gets worse when you try to give her a simple answer, and she responds with, "That's it," or, "Are you sure that's all that happened?" The more she tries to dig, the more you'll start to feel like you're being put under a microscope. She's trying to control the narrative, steer the focus away from herself. This pattern of questioning is a classic sign of guilt at work. It's not about real concern. It's about her own anxiety, and it's a defense mechanism. If you're noticing this, it's time to pay closer attention. But don't think that's the end of it. There's still more to uncover. In the next chapter, we're diving into another sign that's even more revealing. Stay tuned, because this one will make your suspicions skyrocket. Sign 5, moral compensation, out of character acts. Now, we're getting into some truly telling behavior, sudden changes in her daily habits. And no, I'm not talking about the usual, "I want to start eating healthier" kind of changes. I'm talking about those out-of-character shifts that seem to come out of nowhere. One day, she's cooking your favorite meals, even though she never really cared about cooking before. She's watching the shows you love, the ones she used to claim were boring or stupid. These little actions seem nice, right? Almost sweet. But don't be fooled. There's something more going on here. When someone feels guilty, especially when they've done something wrong, their subconscious tries to compensate for it. This is what the Stoics called moral compensation. The idea is simple. When someone knows they've violated their own values or hurt someone they care about, they try to balance it out with positive actions. It's a desperate attempt to right the wrongs, but it's often superficial and forced. Suddenly, she might be going out of her way to be extra thoughtful. Maybe she's bringing you coffee in the morning, when she never did before, or she's asking if you want to go for a walk, even though she used to claim she was too tired. These changes in behavior might seem like she's becoming more considerate, but ask yourself, why now? Why the sudden shift? People don't change overnight, not like this, and that's exactly why you need to pay attention. These changes aren't organic. They don't feel natural. They feel like she's trying to make up for something, trying to balance the scales by being extra nice, almost overcompensating. The thing is, real love doesn't need to compensate. You don't suddenly start making dinner for someone you've never cooked for just because you feel guilty. Genuine affection doesn't need to be forced like this. It's easy to fall for this, especially when the acts are kind and thoughtful. But remember, when someone feels guilty, they're not motivated by love. They're motivated by fear and anxiety, trying to make themselves feel better by doing something that looks like redemption. It's all about easing their own conscience, not about fixing the relationship. So, when you start seeing these sudden, out-of-character gestures, don't ignore the warning signs. They're the mark of someone who's trying to cover something up, not someone who's just trying to be sweet. And guess what? It gets even more intense from here. In the next chapter, we'll uncover a shift that may seem like trust, but it's actually something much darker. Stick around. You won't want to miss it. Sign 6, the shift in intimacy, the silent confession. Now let's talk about something that's both subtle and unsettling, a shift in physical intimacy. It might seem like a positive development at first. She's being extra affectionate, sending more "I love you" texts, giving you spontaneous hugs, or even kissing you more frequently. But something feels off, right? It's too much, too soon. It doesn't feel like it's coming from a natural place. You might even wonder, why is she suddenly so touchy-feely? Here's the truth. Guilt often drives people to overcompensate with affection. When someone feels like they've hurt you, they try to restore balance by becoming excessively affectionate, almost as if proving to themselves that they're still a loving, caring partner. But it's not about you. It's about her need to alleviate the emotional weight she's carrying. She's trying to show love and affection, not because it's what the relationship needs, but because it's her way of easing her own guilt. This sudden surge in physical affection can feel forced. It might seem like she's trying to compensate for something she's done wrong, but it lacks the usual warmth, the connection that once came naturally between you two. It's like she's checking off a box. More hugs, check more compliments, check more kisses, check you might even feel like you're being smothered. And trust me, it's not about her newfound desire for closeness. It's about her internal struggle, her way of covering up what's really bothering her. Guilt works in strange ways. The more someone feels they've wronged you, the more they try to make up for it with gestures of love. But it's not authentic. Real intimacy doesn't feel like this. It's not rushed. It doesn't come out of nowhere. And it's not used as a tool to mask deeper issues. When the affection feels forced or out of sync with the emotional tone of your relationship, it's a huge red flag. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly connected to her, emotionally and physically? Does this sudden shift in intimacy match the vibe of your relationship? Or does it feel like she's trying too hard to convince both of you that everything is fine? Now, don't get me wrong. Affection is normal in a healthy relationship. But when it starts to feel like a quick fix for a much deeper issue, that's when you need to start questioning why it's happening. If you're noticing these signs, don't ignore them. Guilt always leaves a trail, and it's up to you to see it before it's too late. See you in the next video.